What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Sunday, everybody. Okay, so just a few announcements so you guys can understand where the channel is going a little bit. I am going to start having many more conversations that I had in the past. This past week, I had 3 interviews. I have 2 more for next week. You're going to see me starting to veer away a little bit more from the whole control disclosure narrative, even though I think it's important because there's a lot of misinformation going on out there, and there's also a lot of inconsistencies with the control disclosure effort. And hopefully, you guys have seen how I've been trying to point those out. I do not support that control disclosure narrative, but I do think that there should be some type of acknowledgement from the government that this thing is real. But yeah, the way it's been managed and handled has been pretty poor. The results are there. I mean, 3 years in a row, the UAPDA hasn't passed. Yes, we had powerful hearings with David Grush and with Dylan Borland, but we still haven't seen any real convincing smoking gun evidence. And I think we need that. And if we're going to keep getting testimonies, I'm all for it. I specifically would prefer seeing testimonies of people coming out in media and them just going to the ICIG and present whatever information they want to share. But I think that more hearings, if there isn't any type of testimony from somebody powerful who can present some sort of evidence, documents, imagery, anything of the sort, people are not going to be convinced. So I'm trying to study more phenomena, and Psicoactivo is all about studying phenomena. And this past week, there was a really brilliant interview, which will allow for this thread to keep going because I've been looking into Psi history, and Mr. Matthew LaCroix was just on Danny Jones. He's an author and an ancient history expert who has extensively studied the secrets of lost civilizations, megaliths, earth cycles, and ancient texts for 2 decades now. And he is one of the people who's the most well-versed in the ancient Sumerian tablets, which are the oldest written text in recorded history. And he's going to talk about the oldest of the oldest of the old in a clip that I'm going to play for you guys, where he talks about the myth of Adapa. If you guys don't know, the myth of Adapa is essentially the story of Adam, the first man who allegedly was created by the gods. But the description that they have here is very interesting because Matthew points out that humans began their existence with capabilities, and very similar to those Annunaki that he talks about. If you guys don't know what the Annunaki are, it is a mythical race of ancient aliens, I suppose, who 200,000 years ago allegedly came to Earth and created man. And the point of that was so man could mine their gold. But there are many misconceptions about it. There are many translations of the ancient tablets that have been disputed for many generations. Zacharias Sitchin was the one who wrote this work about the Anunnaki, a very extensive work, but there's a lot of debate with the translations that he made. We also have Mauro Biglino, who translated the version of the Elohim, not the Anunnaki, but essentially they're the same thing. And to Mauro Biglino's credit, what he translated made it clear that they were talking about multiple gods, not just one God. And that has been controversial in the Catholic Church. But I had never seen anybody talk about the real history of Adam, Adapa, the very first man. And Mr. LaCroix is going to talk about it with Danny Jones. And I'm going to play you the part where they read the text, the translated text of the myth of Adapa. And look at what Matt is talking about here, because I think it's really interesting and it does give you more clues to humanity's real capabilities and real history, potentially, right? So here it is.
To hear this.
Tablet number 1, Myth of Adapa. He possessed intelligence. Okay, Steve, what are you doing? All right. His command, like the command of Anu. He, Ea, granted him a wide ear to reveal the destiny of the land. He granted him wisdom, but he did not grant him eternal life. In those days, in those years, the wise man of Eridu, Ea, had created him as the chief among men, a wise man whose command none should oppose. The prudent, the most wise among the Annunaki was he.
Okay. So you can stop right there.
Whoa.
It's telling us about the figure that became known as Adam. His original name was Adapa. This tablet is the oldest single written record in human history, period. The myth of Adapa is considered the first Sumerian tablet that's ever been recorded in terms of for its age. It's one of the oldest tablets ever written to mankind. And it tells us profound things.
This is the oldest written document in history.
Yes. The myth of Adapa. It's the very beginning of everything. Now, what's really interesting here are a couple of things. Number one, did you see that he says he has been created as chief among men?
Right.
That he's basically perfect. Remember, like the description of Adam?
Yep.
Okay. Now, this is the line that really brings it home, though. The most wise among the Annunaki.
The most wise among the Annunaki was he.
So what it's saying is that the first man, the first perfect man named Adapa, the first great sage from a city called Eridu, the first city ever created, that he's considered the most wise among the Anunnaki. So what does that mean for us? We are the Anunnaki. We are them. We just don't remember anything, and we don't have any of the gifts anymore. They're trying to tell us that we started in a place where not only was he the most wise, but it's described even further. If you go to the Nag Hammadi scriptures, the secret book of John, it talks about how Enlil became jealous over how perfect man was, and then deliberately threw him into, it was what it says, threw him into a lower form of existence to trap him. So we were created by powerful fractals of source that are like omnipotent creator gods, right? And amongst them, we were created in such perfection that we were more wise and potentially more powerful than even they are. And because of jealousy by the gods, by them, specifically Enlil, he creates an entire world and hides us in a veil of war and deception and confusion to lock us in an eternity to never remember who we really are.
Whoa. That's powerful, bro. So we are them.
Yes. And we have all the gifts they have. We just don't remember or have them unlocked yet. We are, now look at how we're perceived in the world today, how we're taught, right? Darwinianism, we're just a survival of the fittest species that's destroying everything around it. And we got here only because we got smart and the luck of the draw. It's the complete opposite of that. We're like a divine being of the universe. So what are we doing killing each other and doing all these horrible things? Do you know what happens when someone kills someone?
No. What happens?
They are the judges of all. You ever seen in Egypt where they show a feather, the symbol of the analogy of it, like the metaphor, a person's heart on a scale being weighed against a feather? You ever heard that before or seen that?
No.
That in ancient Egypt, it's a depiction that's commonly seen, and it's very known, where they are the judges of our entire existence. That every single thing you're doing is being judged. And that the way that you can unlock higher places is because those things are allowed to happen. Like you earned them, and you proved through these trials and tribulations that we don't even know are real, that everything we're being judged on. They call themselves, it's the most amazing term, they call themselves in at least 3 tablets, the ordainers of destinies, that they're literally in charge of everything. And that there's a really fine line between free will and destiny that we don't really understand. and we don't have as much free will as we really think. That's really what it comes down to, which is good, because let's face it, I don't want to be at the mercy of some madmen. They're going to send off a bomb and blow us all up.
Right.
So if we're not really in charge, it gives me a lot of peace of mind, knowing that there is something much higher that's actually governing a lot of the path of humanity.
Well, I mean, if there is a God who is all omnipotent and all knowing, that means God knows everything that's going to happen in the future.
Yes.
Which means there's no free will.
No. There isn't actually really free will, because time isn't what we think. There's no beginning and there's no end. Time is like a giant circle,
Right.
as it's been described in esoteric traditions.
Right.
That there is no beginning and there is no end. That it's a giant circle, and that the whole point is that we start somewhere and we get completely lost. That's the fun in the game of it, the story, and then we find our way back. And it's through those unexpected and impossibilities of us making our way back that makes it such an interesting story.
So that's pretty wild. And I don't know if you guys caught that, but I think Matthew is sort of alluding to the Watchers, which is the ones that Tom DeLonge discusses.
Around the time of the ancient Greek civilization, these gods came in and they passed down a huge amount of knowledge. That's when we got the alphabet, and that's when we really got into all the mathematics and everything that we know that comes with the ancient Greek civilization. I put down a question where I said, it looks to me that these gods came down here and they tampered with the Sumerian civilization, and then they started fighting amongst themselves, and then mankind started to factionalize. Well, something happened with those gods fighting other gods, that we have all those ancient myths of Olympus and the Titans and all of that stuff. After that, it seems to me that the gods stuck around and they started playing up the different religions between mankind. So we can now be so entertained fighting each other that this intelligence can roam around the planet to do whatever else it is it's trying to do, whether it's trying to tamper with the DNA of mankind, or it's trying to figure out how to harness a human being's soul, whatever it might be after, I'm not totally sure. Everything in those early advisory group communications were fine, but when I touched on the idea of hybrids in the human soul is when all the communication stopped on that thread. So I have to look at that as something that I shouldn't have been going into at the time.
The ones that Matthew Brown has discussed, the ones that Jeremy Corbell has discussed, he's mentioned them. And I'm not sure, obviously, because this is such an old tale, but the correlation is sort of there. And I found it really interesting that in the very oldest text in recorded history, they talk about our real capabilities that man has, that humans have, and how we have forgotten them throughout millennia. Think about what has happened in order to make us forget all of that. Think about the Holy Inquisition, which I've talked about. But for example, in my country, in Mexico, the pre-Hispanic civilizations, they were also ethnically cleansed by the Spaniards. It's been just fear over a different ideology, a different philosophy, a different type of faith, instead of trying to understand different types of faiths and different traditions. And this fear persists to this day. If you think about the most inherently violent potential conflict that exists, the one reason and the one fear that exists is division over religious ideology or a culture war, which is happening right now, if you haven't noticed. But let me know what you think about this, about the very first and oldest text in history about the myth of Adapu. And what do you think about Matthew's assessment of the very first man, that he was very similar to, or if not part of, the Annunaki? That's a new one. I hadn't heard it before, but let me know what you think. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to like, share, comment, hype, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That's what you need to do in order to help us, and it is what helps us the most, so thank you. But if you want to support us in other ways, there's a few links down there you can choose from. You can also become a member on YouTube, or you can support us through KGRA. Anything you choose to do is always appreciated, so thank you. That's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, stay curious and inquisitive like Matthew LaCroix. Always. Bye.